Food is very much on the agenda at the Asian Financial Forum 2013 here in Hong Kong. We're looking at food shortages as well as investment in food. Looking at those questions is Fan Shenggen from the International Food Policy Research Institute in Washington, D.C. Now, can I start by asking you where you see the most severe effect being on commodities in the world, which are going to be the most affected areas?
Well, for the last 4 or 5 years, we have experienced severe shortages in agricultural commodities, particularly food commodities. The food prices have risen very quickly, and many poor people have become hungry, particularly in Africa and Asia. In Asia, South Asia, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Nepal, other countries where they suffered the most.
Now, I understand that you see major food shortages by 2030 in both Asia and Africa. But how would you compare those two regions where it comes to these big food shortages that you see?
Well, for Asia, the major reason is a demand side increase. Because of population growth, urbanization, rising income, the more urbanized, more richer urban population will demand more and better food. So the demand side is a major problem in Asia. For Africa, right now, they do have severe food shortage problem. However, in the future, if the policies can get right, if the right investment can get into the region, I'm quite confident Africa will be able to feed themselves with its abundant land, water resources, and with labor. But for Asia, I think the shortage will become even more severe over time because of the factors I have mentioned. And the climate change will also hit both regions very hard and very quick. And Asia probably will be hit particularly hard than Africa.
Now, you mentioned urbanization in particular as actually bringing about these various shortages, but isn't China going to be the most severely affected because of the vast urbanization there is in the country?
Yes, it is true that urbanization in China has happened much faster than any other countries. So China will face a gap between huge food demand and what food they can produce. So I'm afraid that they have to use international market, import food from Africa, from Latin America, from other Asian countries, which is not necessarily bad. We do want to see more urbanized, richer people to consume more and better food in a sustainable way. If China cannot produce its own food, they should be able to use the international market to feed themselves. So I don't see a problem. And other regions like Africa, Latin America, or other Asian countries can use it as an opportunity.
So talking about investment in food, how fast is that investment really growing, looking at both the public and private sectors?
Well, right now, particularly for the last 10 or 20 years, there has been underinvestment in agriculture, in food production. So that's why the food stocks of food grains have come down dramatically for the last 5 or 6 years. So that has been a fundamental reason behind rising food prices. So in the future, the increased investment in agriculture, in food production is a must. Just for your information, there is a need of $7 billion just to offset the negative impact from the climate change. Obviously, more money, more investment is needed to accelerate the food production. And the requirement of the investment varies by region and also really depends on certain technologies, innovations, policies the country can provide. If the countries can use the investment more efficiently, more effectively, if the countries can use the money more efficiently, then the next investment might be required.
So given that there's a new leadership upcoming in China, with their policies really looking at greater well-being for the Chinese people as well as in technology, would you expect a greater investment, therefore, in food?
Yes, I would expect so. In fact, it has already happened. For the last 4 or 5 years, every year, Chinese government has increased investment in agriculture, in irrigation, in agriculture research, in rural infrastructure. So that momentum has to be kept, and the more investment is needed. In the meantime, the Chinese government should also design policies to attract private sector investment. Agribusiness firms, even financial firms, the financial sectors, will use agriculture as an opportunity. So financial sector should also focus on their investment in real production, not in speculation.
So when we're talking about the solutions to food security, are we really asking people to really have fewer children?
Yes. Well, eventually, if the economy continue to grow, if the income continue to grow, the population growth rate will come down. So because of the opportunity cost of the women, so education of women will be so critical to control the population. So it's not so-called a monetary policy, population control. If we provide opportunities for women and their access to, let's say, to contraceptives, naturally the birth rates will come down. On the other hand, we should also focus on more sustainable consumption or sustainable diet. We have seen the triple burden of malnutrition in Asia. So undernutrition, overnutrition, and a lack of micronutrients. So three phenomena are happening in Asia right now. So if we design certain policies, certain regulations to guide the people's consumption, so they will not overconsume certain food, so they will benefit from, their health will benefit from a much healthier diet. The government will also reduce the health cost. So we need a better policy, smarter policy, to make sure that the consumption pattern will also be sustainable.
Well, thanks for those answers. Now, you're attending the Asian Financial Forum here in Hong Kong. To what extent do you think you'll be effective in the sort of arguments, the sort of discussions that you're going to be having at the Asian Financial Forum? Will there be answers?
Well, it really depends on many factors. It is our job, and it is my job, to provide independent, neutral, research-based information to others, for decision makers, for investors, for governments to make the right decision. I'm confident that if we all work together, use evidence-based information to make the wise decision, we will be able to feed the population in the world around different corners more efficiently, more effectively, and sustainably.